Hey, how's it going? I'm so mad. I was just talking and talking and the thing wasn't on. Okay, so today I want to talk about clickbait and fear and how I process it at least to not feel so horrible. But I'll just start off with clickbait and I'll do my little YouTube disclaimer sign. It also has the cast list, which I will display. And the cast was pretty large, so I did not include it all. Just like the main people that you're gonna see in it. And the reason why I have the dual title is because I just wanted to talk about fear in general. But if you wanted a distraction for, I don't know, I watched it over a few days and I could have probably binged it all like in a day or two, but you know, the viewing season is really slow right now, so I didn't want to burn through it. It was hard to watch, though. I gotta say, it made me feel ways that I was not entirely comfortable with. Uh, it did invoke some, not fear, well, maybe fear in light of what I'm gonna say, because it kind of pissed me off because I've had my identity stolen. I've had people like in my machines like doing things to make it inaccessible to me and just messing with me, and met people online that you know did not respond with commensurate anything, and just caused problems like online, and had money attacked and the whole thing. And I'm not special at this point. I know like it's happened to just about everybody. So to watch this, it was, well, it's a tale of just about everything I talk about anymore. It has betrayal. It has a bunch of people with false motivations. It has catfishing. And if that's not like screwed off enough, the way that it the way they come at it in this story is like pretty genius, actually. And the cast, the only one that I'm really familiar with is Adrian Grenier. And it's funny that well, I mean, I've been seeing this show come up in my email alert because I have a Netflix, so I get notifications from them in my email. And I saw the picture, like also whatever in my phone. I'll get the same thing, and whatever I've seen like pro- publicity promos for the movie before it started, but I didn't really see anything about it because I figured it's pretty obvious, and I was not wrong. Like I was co- correct in assuming the things that I assumed about without knowing the actual story. And it just was like identity theft, and there's physical crime like kidnapping and murder, and just a lot of people making assumptions. And but okay, so here's what was really scary to me is when Grenier's character, when what happens to him happens, is that gross thing where if you've been online and you're looking at somebody's channel on like Instagram or whatever, and whatever their story is, or Facebook TV, whatever it is that's going, that people like what they're saying, you'll see the notifications like hearts and thumbs up and whatever just rising, like right, like that, like right there, like I don't have. And that was nasty. And then everybody just, without knowing the truth, was believing stuff about people, and that's, I guess, a lot of what the kind of moral is here is like, yeah, hey, everybody, we're just jumping on stuff and we don't even know what we're talking about, really. Like, we're causing havoc in people's lives and pain and humiliation and even death in some cases. And it's wrong. It's like we're leaping to crazy ass conclusions and hurting each other. But Adrian Grenier, I just 2 days before I watched this, swear to God, I read this little piece. I think it was in Deadline on him, and it was saying that he had moved to, I think, Texas or somewhere in the South from Hollywood because whatever his problem with Hollywood. I mean, not that I am saying there's no problems with Hollywood. I have mine too. But he had moved to the South somewhere and he was doing foundations or charities or both, something. And he just wanted to be more useful, is what I got from this little tiny interview that I saw. And that he wasn't going to really be doing Hollywood stuff anymore. And then 2 days later, I'm like, wait, I've been getting this ad for Clickbait for a couple of weeks now, and I was thinking that sure looks like Grenier, but I thought he wasn't doing stuff. So I thought it was going to be like what they did with Ryan Phillippe in Big Sky on ABC, which was using for one episode and then like a couple of B-roll flashbacks, and he's just history. They just mention him every once in a while, and I thought, whoa, that was cheesy and a ripoff. But I do like that show, so at first I was mad. I was like, I don't want to watch this, but then it was good, so I do watch it. Anyway, I thought it was going to be like that with Grenier in this show, but I mean, they do the same thing. He does get killed off in the first episode, but he's in it still. He's in it a lot, like through to the end, which made me happy because the other thing kind of pissed me off because that was like remote control clickbait and they ripped me off. I felt like, okay, so all, all of that stuff, like catfishing and cyber, like everything they can do to hurt you online out of anger, revenge, or just like people are saying this about this person and they're all like upset and emotional about it and talking a bunch of shit. Um, and everybody's just like, yeah, I'll jump all over that bandwagon too. I won't even ask a question. And who cares what happens? Who gets hurt? And we do that. We so do that. We love it. And what they do to Grenier's character, when they do it, a lot of it takes place in cyberspace. So you'll see him in his predicament, and there's like a bounty sort of a thing going on, and you'll see this on like Instagram channels or Facebook Watch or whatever those things are, and you'll see like likes and hearts and whatever going up size like this, like I don't have. So yeah, did I say that twice? I don't care. Um, but we don't. I mean, like, okay, ivermectin. Somebody told these people that ivermectin would be a good thing to take for their viral infection, and it's a dewormer. So that I'm not a doctor, but those two seem unconnected, and yet some people are just gung ho into it because somebody told them it was a thing to buy. Same with hydroxychloroquine. That's like specifically known to be for lupus people and prescribed, so it's given to you in the right dosage, and people were probably still are stocking up on that and making it harder for people with other ailments when it's really like the effect is minimal. They're doing a lot of things that'll do like a little bit here and a little bit there instead of just go get the vaccine. There's a bunch of people walking around. They got all of them that are alive and not autistic and don't have horns or horns sticking out of their head, or like cans and metal and iron filing stuck to them from being vaccinated when they go out. Like, what was that toy with the guy with the iron filings, and you could give him hair and you'll look it up. um, but yeah, and it's at least for me, it's caused a lot of consternation. I have been at this point, I don't know what they could steal from me. It's probably stupid to say it on here, but what else could they take from me? I had nothing to begin with. So, but I didn't enjoy it, like having to clear, just X out all of my accounts with all of my stuff on them. And yeah, it's inconvenient, and like money has been lost. Like, they have found many ways to mess with me. So, and I'm not the only one. And so, but that creates like a certain amount of fear in people, and like frustration and anger. And it's kind of like a progression that seems to be what we're all kind of going through. I mean, we have our personal problems, like, I don't know, like rent or place to live, or, child care, or being able to work or not, or like having to educate your kid that's home because everybody's home because you can't go out because of the pandemic. That's a lot of stress on people, and a lot of unaccustomed, like, they don't know how to teach a child. I wouldn't. When I hear about the kids are getting educated, I don't even know what to do with. It doesn't compute. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. So I'm glad I don't have any that I have to worry about trying to, do that with, teach them. Um, and then, you are worried about going out in the street. You don't know if you're like a precaution taker, you don't know if you're gonna meet someone who vehemently is not, that wants to expectorate on you or something. And it's interesting that well, I'm not done talking about all the stuff that can impact you. And then we got really upset about Afghanistan, but aren't we still in Iraq? And aren't we God knows where else, like a bunch of other places that we don't even talk about, but are definitely happening? And what about conflicts that are not even ours, that we're not even involved in? Like, there's more war and all of the painful stuff that comes out of it: rape, loot, pillage, destruction, loss, all of that stuff. And then, you, as a citizen, I mean, this is how I often feel about war. I don't want us to do it. Like, whatever reasons they give are not justification enough for me, like, ever. And I don't want us to go, because I don't want us to go destroying other places and people, and I don't want us getting destroyed back. And the way that, oh my God, the way that people come back from that go fight, or even just are there for whatever reason, like, no one comes back the same. It's not good. And see, look at that. Get me all stressed out. And then there's like natural disasters that are causing harm to humans and property and animals, and everything. It's like all this stuff. Look, we can feel this, we can sense this stuff. I mean, empathically, or some of us more psychically, whatever. But if you think that you're not affected in that way by stuff, I wonder, have you ever walked into a room, or walked into a room with someone else, and have heard them say who died, or something's happening, like, because something happened, like somebody had a fight. You can feel like emotional energy resonating when you walk into a room. It could be a stadium, but if 10 of us are feeling it, then it's going to exponentially explode to the whole rest of whoever's there. And I feel like we're feeling all that on top of our own stuff, on top of our own stuff that we don't talk about out loud, that's in our head, biases, and, you know, things that hurt us, and abuses that we haven't processed, like whatever it is, we all got stuff, baggage. And in combination with all that other stuff, including the stuff that you're not even consciously aware of, but you're just feeling all the time anyway, and you're probably feeling it more intensely now because the weather and the wars and the pandemic, everything is making everybody more anxious, more stressed out, more fearful. And I think that the anger and the sort of lashing out and just being really inappropriate with poor impulse control, and I guess I'll call it the Karening just as an umbrella term, but the unsolicited uh, lecturing and such that we're getting, some of us, from people. It's just like I feel like we all are feeling so helpless and frustrated, which, I mean, when you're helpless and you feel like you can't do anything, and then you have all these responsibilities that you know are there, that you know you can't like immediately do anything about, or ever, like you don't know what the future holds, and that's scary for people. And so I think that not knowing makes us frustrated, and that makes us scared, and it makes me angry, and I think it does other people. It's a progression. um, so I think that's what's been happening with all of us, and gosh, excuse me, because I'm just gonna croak in a moment. So I wanted to address like a way that I've learned to deal with fear. And I know that it's destructive. I know that it gets in the way of when you want to do something, like if you have to speak publicly or perform or something like that. Well, I don't know. I guess I didn't really ever have fear. Maybe after the first few times I had to do it, like perform on stage playing music. But I think I was always more excited than anything else to just get up there, and it was exciting. Like I don't really think I was afraid, but some people get bad stage fright, and in other situations, like we just have our things that we are afraid of. And I mean, I'm a big proponent of the line from Dune, that fear is a mind killer. Like it makes you unable to function right. So, and when you have to do something and you're fearful, but you know you have to do it, you find a way, like you box it up and put it somewhere. And I think that we all do some of that. And I don't know that we ever like go back to the boxes and deal with what's in there, or look at it, or try to process it. And we end up with stuff that's piling up and festering in multiple boxes. And you know, you have something like that, it's like old TNT. You don't know what could get set off because it's all sensitive, it's all like unstable. And also, most of us have untreated like mental health problems. And I would say that we probably have like a nationwide PTSD thing going at this point. So, all of that said, if you know about what a lot of people talk about, which is like the matrix theory, I have two things to say, and one of them is about like if you take that at all seriously, and like I think personally we all have like a different like perception of it. It's not necessarily exactly like the movie with Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne. I want to make sure I got the right actor. Uh, like to me, I don't think it's that. I think that like yes, there's like a probably a holographic projection that we've all consented to be in together, and we act out our roles, and it's actually supposed to be fun for us, like a learning experience and exciting. And if you think about it, like it's also kind of like a game. And here's where reincarnation comes into it and why we shouldn't be afraid, because as far as reincarnation is concerned, I think every religion there is has it as an element of the religion. Like it's in there. I am losing my words, but it's in the principles or the dogma somewhere. And in a video game, which there's a movie now they just made with Ryan Reynolds just made called Free Guy. And if I understand what that term means, I'm not a gamer, so I'm just assuming, but I know that you get extra lives or you get strength by collecting certain things or jumping up and hitting your head on the box and making the coins come out, whatever it is. But I think life in the game and out is like reincarnation, because especially in the game, which is I think how we should look at it in reality. When you die in the game, your character just dies. There's no big deal. Like maybe you're like disappointed and mad, but eventually you're gonna be able to just get another guy, which I think is like an extra life or whatever. But I think Free Guy, this new movie with Ryan Reynolds, is that's what they're talking about. Is you get like this, you do something and you get an extra life. You get to live longer, and you just start over, clean slate. Like no crying and worrying about what happened before, and you're not taking it all personally because it's just a game. Or conversely, if you're like acting out the holographic matrix deal, then you're playing a role. So when you die, reincarnation, you're just gonna come back. So yes, people will miss you when you're gone, and then like you'll be sad that you left unless you can just like go, okay, well, I did that, and I'm sorry that I'm gonna have to not see my people again for a while. But you will, if you believe in reincarnation. Everybody is gonna go back to the, I was back to the start, back to zero. Like you're done with this role, you're done with this, you know, whole low life. You're done with the game, and you're done with the acting. You're done with the role. You're not like you, I don't think actors take their roles to heart to where they're like sad for years and they can't get over it and they just wear black forever. Like that's I think life and death too. But we have our attachments. We have our ways that we think we're expected to be. Um, I kind of don't do that stuff. For whatever reason, I'm a malcontent, but I just kind of do my own thing, and it didn't feel good to like go to funerals and expect to sit there for however long and just be dreary and sad. And like I would like to remember people happily, like more in the style of a or New Orleans funeral, where it's definitely the whole Catholic thing, like I was brought up in. It's like very a religious thing, or in the South it could be Baptist, but with the Catholics, after you do the whole church thing in the mourning and the grieving, you like basically have a party on the way to the cemetery with a band and a parade, and it's a whole other vibe. Like it's a celebration of the life, and it's not just everybody feeling miserable and sad. And I always think that the way we do that here is it's like the funeral is for the mourners, and the person that died is not even so much the focus. And I just am not into that. It just rubbed me the wrong way, so I just never liked it. And with my mom, we, without even speaking of it, when she finally died of her cancer, we both knew that she was going to be cremated. And it's a good thing that her cousin, who is also my cousin but her age, was there when she first died, because my paternal aunt and uncle were both there. And I think that they thought my uncle was one who was a musician, so he had money. He was like the person in the family that had like any, serious money. And he knew that like there was going to be no help, certainly from my father, because He hadn't been helping since I was a very young child, and also he was. Well, I guess he was still around then, but he was dead to me. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but I think that my uncle and aunt, first of all, were like appalled and surprised that I wasn't crying. Which I didn't do for like a year, but it wasn't because I wasn't sad and or like you know had something against my mother. That's ridiculous. Just the way I processed my grief, I knew that I wanted to get all of that funeral and dealing with people and all insurance and all that done before I had any emotions. I remember that was like set in my mind. But I also remember that when I told them that I wanted my mom to be cremated, because I always felt like because she had the cancer, she would just want to burn that out of herself. And as I said, her cousin was there, and it was a good thing too, because when I said that, like, first they're like, you need to see a shrink because you're not crying. And I was like, that's ridiculous. And then they said, well, no, you got to have a funeral. Like, people got to be able to come. And I told him, my uncle, what my mom had said. She said, I do not want a funeral because they didn't give me flowers in life or call me. So, what? I don't care about them sitting around while I'm dead, acting like they cared. And that was, we didn't discuss it, but it was a shared sentiment between us. And so I actually had not had a discussion with my mom about cremation, but she had with my cousin. So when I said it and my aunt and uncle kind of jumped on me, my cousin stepped in and said, hey, 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 this was her mother's wishes too. And this is her funeral. And my uncle tried to be like, oh, I'm going to pay for it. I was like, I don't need you to pay for it. He was like, huh? But it's just like, baloney, really. Like, what do you even really mean when that you're grieving? Do you even mean it? So that's why I'm just kind of like not heavily attached. Not that I don't care or feel bad when I lose someone or there's some sort of tragedy. I do, but I also understand that I don't have to like tattoo it on my body or make it like part of my permanent life. And so I just wanted to share like kind of my concept on like fear about what's happening, and we don't really have to take it on. In fact, the first time I recorded this, I thought of something when I was trying to say that the reason why I bring it up, like, do it if you want or don't, or do it your own way. But what I'm saying is that while we're in this fear, frustration, anger phase, and all of the above, it's good. Like, I know when I reach a point where I'm like, I can't even anymore. Like, I give up. I surrender. That is a good time. Make it last, because that's like the time where you can just shrug it all off. Like, okay, I'm just done with it. Whatever it is, like fear, anger, grief, and your mood can change in a second. And so the analogy that I came up with is to just get you out of your sadness rut. Think of, I mean, isn't it funny when someone bends over and their seam of their ass splits right up the middle, and you see like some tidy whitey underpants popping out of whatever the outer pants are? Like, I don't know about you, but if I see that and I'm feeling like any kind of negative way, even if it's not like laughter or whatever, like I know I'm going to feel something different having seen that. Like it's going to take me out of whatever I'm feeling, out of the doldrums, out of the dumps. And we need that. And I hope that we all know that how easy it is to do that for ourselves. This is why I'm sharing this. And just I want people to know that like you can make yourself feel better about these things, and you don't have to feel guilty about it. Like if you don't like feeling bad and sad, you don't have to. I mean, there really is no law. You might have been programmed to feel that way, but you certainly don't have to. You can at any time exercise your free will and just say I'm done. And I guess I am done on that note. Thank you and good night.